St. Michael's. And so that's the church
Thank
I'm
you
in.
for being here at
Yes.
Community Awareness Series of the Jersey City Free Public Library. We're celebrating the life and times of a movement which the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a pivotal part and an important part of that movement there in the 60s. And in any case, we've been, Community Awareness Series, been celebrating Dr. King for 45 years now. I believe we have the longest running tribute to King in Jersey City and Hudson County. And it looked like we didn't know if this was going to happen when we got the word that they had not finished fixing the heating system, the boiler. So it was a question today, do we cancel and go for another date? But we were monitoring with people, well, how is it down here? It's colder upstairs, but down here it's a little better. And we said, we're going to go on with it. Hopefully everything works out and we get enough people in here with some human body heat, lights, so forth. And then you got a very hot band with Harper. So we're going to kick it off with Winard Harper doing a set, and then we'll bring up our very special guest speaker, Omar Babar, who's been a community activist for eons here, and very close and good friend and supporter of the Community Awareness Series for many years. And that. So with that, I also want to mention that we do have a member of the library board of trustees here, Brother Alan Anton. We're happy to have him here, as well as the crusader and fighter for Liberty State Park, always. If it wasn't for him, we would be suffering more with the lack of such a beautiful park and open space. That is none other than the president of the Friends of Liberty State Park, Sam Pessin. We call him the mighty Sam Pessin, and that's no joke. And that. So with that, and we have other people we'll introduce as we go along, but also Tony Goodson, who is commander of the Shelton Post. And with all these recent renovations of the Post, it's in a spectacular place now. And there's a lot of activities that take place there as well. So also stepping in, and that we're very happy also to mention that we have Assemblywoman Angela McKnight here. Another person who is instrumental to this program, who really does not get as much credit as they should, in that, and that is Barbara Williams. Organizes the annual Kwanzaa program, and that every year Women's History Month programs and so many other types of programs, and especially pertaining to women and specifically to African American women, and that. So. We'll get to other folks. We're glad to have the film group here who's doing a video documentary on Frank Gilmore and Jersey City and Frank Gilmore. And that, so we're happy to have them here and to have you here along with the great Mary Aiken. And singers and artists and so forth. And with that, let's bring out the amazing Winard Harper and the Jeli Posse band.
Yeah, this is a very, very special occasion. And I've been blessed we were just in the back talking. I kind of aged myself. I'm trying to remember how long I've been playing at this library. And it seems like it could be for 40 years. That's something else.
1985.
Right, that's what I said, about 40 years. There's a picture somewhere with me, Philip, Don Braden or something.
Yeah.
That's many moons
Over
ago.
there, yeah.
But I want to start off with a composition written by another young man who was very, very special in many ways, especially to education and jazz education. So all these guys you see going to school now, being able to get degrees in jazz and stuff, this gentleman was responsible, him and others like him, for that happened. He was also very responsible and supportive of a lot of things that happened in civil rights, good friends with Dr. King and people of that nation. I'm speaking of the late, great Dr. Billy Taylor. And if we had one of those screens and I could get him a picture to show you, his daughter just sent me a picture of Billy's wife. And December 31st, she just turned 99. And looks beautiful, beautiful. So this is Dr. Taylor's composition entitled Capricious. Capricious. Hope you enjoy it. our foot percussionist, tap dance extraordinaire, Mr. A.C. Lincoln. One of the young master drummers, African drummers. He plays for a lot of the dancers and the tap dancers. Wonderful, wonderful round of applause, Mr. Gabriel Roxbury. At the keyboard, originally from Detroit, Michigan, lived in Jersey City for a moment, now resides in Bayonne, New Jersey. A wonderful, wonderful round of applause for Mr. Nick Masters. At the guitar, from Maryland, now residing in Jersey City, New Jersey, round of applause for Mr. Charlie Siegler. Alto saxophone, I think originally from Newark, New Jersey. And I'm proud to say he's one of the students over at NJCU, which we'll have to talk about that a little bit later. We need all these programs. We can't afford to lose anything. But this young man, he's really blossomed. He's a wonderful talent. And I'm proud he's here because I called him late last night. He had just gotten off a cruise. Where'd y'all go?
St. Martin and St. Vincent.
Yeah, I think was it WBGO Cruise or
The Blue Note Cruise.
Blue Note Cruise? So I know he had a ball. Please, a wonderful, wonderful round of applause, Mr. Jeli Schaefer. On trumpet. Another very, very talented young man, and he knows I talk a lot about him, and I'll save it for a little later, but he also resides in Jersey City, has his own club, and yeah, one of the wealthy guys. Please, a wonderful, wonderful round of applause, Mr. Teddy Chubb. From the country-based fiddle, originally from Queens, New York, now resides in Rahway, New Jersey. Right. Wonderful, wonderful round of applause, Mr. Anthony Perez. And at this time, being that we're celebrating this evening, I'd like to bring out a little early to the bandstand, Miss Camila Harper. Woo! And Camila and the AC and a couple of our wonderful audience down there, Miss Mary Akins. We're going to try to get everybody to pitch in and help us.
If you know this one, please sing along.
We shall shouldn't we rise to love? Our hearts are made of it, let's take a chance. Why be afraid of it? Let's close our eyes and build our own paradise. Little we know of it, still we try to make it go of it. Well, we might have been meant for each other, to be or not to be, but our hearts discover. Rise and love, why shouldn't we rise and love? Now is the time for it while we're young. Let's rise and love.
very much. How about a wonderful, wonderful round of applause and very talented and very lovely Miss Camila Harper. One of the products of Jersey City education. Our tap dancer, Mr. A.C. Lincoln. At the keyboard, Mr. Nick Masters. Mr. Jalen Schleifer. Mr. Teddy Chubb. Mr. Charlie Siegler. Mr. Anthony Perez. He wants us to play one more. One more is always hard for me, but anybody knows that. But I'll tell you what I'd like to do for you. There's a composition written by another very, very talented young man that I had the opportunity of playing with quite some years ago. And this young man was from South Africa. And during the period that I worked with was still during the period of apartheid. So his music was very, very special, it was very touching. And especially if you knew what was going on still over there, it was really, really very moving. And we'd like to do this composition for you now. And I hope you enjoy it and that you think about what the title is. And it's entitled, Water from an Ancient Well.
composition of the great Abdullah Ibrahim, entitled Water from an Ancient Well. That's a wonderful title, ain't it? Water from an Ancient Well, but you have to go home and really look it up. Really look it up. Once again, Mr. A.C. Lincoln. Mr. Gabriel Roxbury. Miss Camila Harper. The financial wizard. Mr. Teddy Chubb on trumpet. And I'm gonna have to stop right here. Now, I want to acknowledge and get you to give a wonderful round of applause and appreciation to Mr. Dawood Williams, Barbara Williams, their family, their whole team. They do a wonderful job. I'm proud to have known them and be friends, because when we first came to Jersey City, which was in 1983, there wasn't a whole lot of jazz over here. We would play at the library every now and then, and we would play at the park for your father, the Harper brothers. And that was it. Other than that, we would have to go to New York to hear music or to play the music. Wasn't much jazz over here. And slowly but surely, some things started popping up when we started doing the things down at Moore's Lounge. And how many of you remember the Cliff Walston? Cliff Walston used to always tell me, he said, man, you trying to bring jazz to Jersey City, you trying to raise the dead. But slowly but surely, you know, with Allah's mercy, we were able to do it, and we've seen a lot of wonderful young talent come up, and a lot of it right here. And that's because of the support and the love that you give us. Because we can't do this without you. We'll just be playing to an empty room. But when y'all come out and support and love, it creates an environment for all this wonderful talent to blossom. So again, Mr. Dawood Williams and family, please give him a round of applause. And as announced earlier, now this young man has his own club up in Jersey City Heights. It's called The Statuary. If you haven't been up, you have to come up and see his spot. You can ask him a little bit. He'll tell you, I don't know, he usually has his cards and stuff. But it is a wonderful spot. Again, on alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful round of applause. And he's doing a wonderful job, because like I said, he just stepped in for us. Mr. Jalen Schiffer. At the guitar, one of my partners in crime, and a very, very talented young man. Please, a wonderful round of applause, Mr. Charlie Siegler. At the keyboard, a wonderful round of applause, Mr. Nick Masters. And on the country bass fiddle, and I just happened to recently find out you graduated from NJCU? He was a graduate from NJCU. At the bass, wonderful round of applause, Mr. Anthony Perez. I think I got everybody's large band. On drums, yours truly, Winard Harper. I think we're gonna take a break, and Dawood, you coming up? Thank you so much. We'll be back shortly with some more music for you.
Once again, thank you for coming out tonight to celebrate the life and times of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and the movement here for freedom, equality, voting rights, and human rights. And that we're going to take a musical break here. Winard's band will be back on shortly, and we have our guest speaker with us today. But before we get there, we want to mention, this is our third time having a live performance with people, the public being invited to it. Because of the pandemic, we had to do everything live stream or whatever, YouTube and so forth, but with no real public there. So this is the third time. The first time was in October, and then we had a live with our Kwanzaa, and this one, of course, with the Dr. Martin Luther King. So we're happy to do that and able to bring the people into this lovely library and with all this talent, such as the Winard Harper group and Mary Akins and so forth. We also want to acknowledge here with us too is Councilman Frank Gilmore. And also former councilman and also high school principal Chris Gatson. And of course, I was at Snyder High School. So, but anyway, Chris is doing a great job over there at Lincoln High School. And like I said, he was a former councilman, and he may be councilman again in that we could get behind him and support him and so forth. So with that, I also want to let you know that on Saturday, February 18th, we're going to have a very special concert featuring Spirit of Life Ensemble, but it's going to be dedicated to a fantastic singer who just passed away, who's a member of the group, and that's Dwight West. Incredible voice, and unfortunately he succumbed to a brain tumor, and that had passed away about a week or so ago. His funeral was yesterday, and the repast was yesterday as well. So we're going to carry on with the spirit of Dwight West, who worked with Spirit of Life Ensemble for the past 14 years or so. Prior to that, he worked a lot with the Mary Baraka's band, and that, trying to think, Mary Baraka, the New Ark, that's right, the New Ark band. So in any case, that's the next program we have here with Community Awareness Series. So right now, we want to bring up our guest speaker, no stranger to Jersey City, to the activists and activity here in Jersey City, and that he's currently working with the Urban League, but he has been a member of many organizations and many frontline, just not back office thing. He's been on the front line of the civil rights, human rights movement for decades, and we're very proud and we honor him for his work, and I'm going to bring him up now. Omar Babar.
Yeah.
I hope he's talking about me.
No stranger to the CAS.
It's an honor to be able to have this opportunity to speak to you about the subject of the birthday of, I think, probably the most renowned human being, renowned American we have in Dr. King. But I'd like to say before that what a sorry world it would be without music. Thank God for musicians. And we should honor our musicians, and I'm talking about an internationally renowned musician of Winard Harper. Internationally renowned. He's playing with some of the great artists of his time. And he comes here and still gives Jersey City the credit, give Jersey City some. When I look at Winard, I'm reminded of Don Carter, who played in this auditorium many times. I'm reminded of Charlie Slade, Some of you may remember Charlie Slade, the Slade brothers. Charlie played with Gloria Coleman, some great artists. And I know Frank Gilmore's too young to remember this, but some of you may remember 8 Miles High and Red Walcott. And, you know, so we've had some great musicians out here, not to mention Kool and the Gang, and Spirit of Life Ensemble, and Manhattans, of course, and Soul Generation. But we've had some great musicians come out of this city, and we should have to honor our artists, because you look at the Civil Rights Movement, and you look at Curtis Mayfield, you look at Sam Cooke, you look at Aretha Franklin. They were all there, they were all part of it. When Dr. King spoke at the March on Washington, the first thing he did before he spoke is had Mahalia Jackson come up and sing. And if you go back and watch the tape on that, when Dr. King didn't have the speech, I Have a Dream, that was not part of his speech. Mahalia said, tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream. And that's where he took off. Then the preacher came out, and that dream was said. But let's take a step back to my text for the evening, and it's about the formative and transformative life of Martin Luther King. He didn't just come out of nowhere. He just didn't pop up. He is the American intellectual, probably second to Du Bois in terms of being a public intellectual, because he got it honestly. Martin Luther King's grandfather was a slave preacher. His grandfather rather, was a slave preacher. And his father, Michael, you know him as Martin, but his name was Michael, as Dr. King's name was also Michael, was a preacher. But they were farmers, sharecroppers. And in 1863, Willis and Lucretia Williams gave birth to a boy named A.D. King, Adam Daniel King. That was Dr. King's grandfather. And in 11 years, his father Willis was allowed to go around and teach the slaves as an itinerant preacher, not only the Williams plantation, but all the plantations around. He had no guards. He would go do funerals, do other things for the other plantations, and he was allowed to come back. He was allowed to read, because as long as he taught the Bible, he can read. And he taught his son A.D. A.D. at 11 years old had to take over from his father when he passed away. At 11 years old, he became a slave preacher in Ocho County, a rural part of Georgia. For 14 years, he labored as a labor preacher to the slave population, now known as the sharecroppers, and that's just another form of slavery, the unfair, exploitative system. It wasn't chattel slavery, but it was akin to people being in servitude, because it was not fair when they split up the profit at the end of the year. A.D., after 14 years, was allowed to get a preacher license. In a year's time, he left that country village and he went into Atlanta to become the second preacher, the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. When he got there, he had 17 members, no money in the church, and they were not in the what they now call the Auburn Suite section of Atlanta, where you now find Ebenezer. It was nowhere near that. But it was one of those 17 members that he met became his wife. Her name was Jenny Parks. That became Dr. King's grandmother. She was a songstress. She was a Spelman woman. They got together, they built Ebenezer into a 950 to 1,000 membership in a very short time. A.D. went on to educate himself formally. He enrolled into Atlanta Baptist College, the forerunner to Morehouse College. Early 1800s. He got his degree, and when he got his degree, the world was his oyster. When he came back out, not only did he build Ebenezer with Miss Jenny, as they called her, and she built the musical industry, he built the church, but he also became the leading figure to found the NAACP in Atlanta, Georgia. Became the president and the founder. he was able to convince Du Bois. The Niagara Movement was just founded in 1905 in upstate New York. The first convention that the NAACP held in the South was in Atlanta, Georgia, sponsored by Ebenezer Baptist Church. So when we talk about Dr. King, let's be clear about what we're talking about. He stands on the shoulders of some very powerful people. Let me just dissect for a minute and talk about the musician part, because this is part of where we get the story wrong. We got to claim our own narrative. Dr. King gave the eulogy for the 3-year-old girls that were killed in the 16th Street Baptist Church that was bombed in September in Birmingham. The person who sung Bomb in Gilliard was Coretta Scott King. People forget that Coretta Scott King graduated from a New England Conservatory of Music. She's the wife of Dr. King. See, history has a way of taking away the essence of character and people. Coretta, along with Alberta, Dr. King's mother, and I'll get to that in a minute, and his grandmother, Big Jenny, created a musical ministry to Ebenezer that was second to none. Big church in the north, little church in the south, whatever it was. If you went to the music ministry of Ebenezer, you found one of the best in the world back in the 1800s because of what they did. So Dr. King, let's just say A.D. King and Miss Jenny had 3 kids. They lost 2 at birth. They had 1 daughter named Alberta. And Alberta also went to Spelman and also became a musical major. There'll come a man into the life that you know as Daddy King. His name was Michael King, born in Stockton, Georgia. Dr. King, or I should say Reverend King, at that time, he was just Mike King, came a boarder in the Williamson's house. He was a country boy, and A.D. King said, "You come to Atlanta smelling like a mule," because that's what he did. He left Stockton because they won't kill him, because he told the white landowner that even though I plowed this field for you, I should be getting more out of it. And he said, "Boy, if that's what you think, then you're gonna find yourself hanging a tree." So they got him out, and he went to Atlanta. By being a boarder in A.D.'s and Miss Jenny's house and had eyes for Alberta, if you have eyes for our daughter, you gotta make something of yourself. At the age of 21, Michael King went back to preparatory school, and they started him off in the 5th grade. He finished high school, got his little high school equivalent diploma, and then he enrolled, like A.D., into what then now became Morehouse College. At 30, he graduated. At 30, he graduated. Dr. King is also alumni, A.D.'s alumni. Dr. King III is alumni of Morehouse. Dexter King is alumni, and Bernice King are all alumni she's of Spelman, because they didn't have women at that time going there. But A.D. King, the maternal side of Dr. King's family, is what gave him the platform for him to become. Mike King, in 1931, took over from A.D. A.D. died suddenly of a heart attack while playing with his oldest granddaughter. Mike King and Alberta would have 3 children. Willie Christine, the oldest daughter, in 1929, they would give birth to a son named Mike King Jr. And in 1930, A.D. King II. That was Dr. King's little brother. And one year after A.D. was born, A.D. passed away, or playing with Christine, he had a heart attack. Mike had to send to the senior pastor of Ebenezer. In 1934, Mike was sent to Junket by the National Baptist Convention that took him to the Holy Land, that took him to European capitals, and also took him to Germany. The year after the Nazis had taken over Germany, Hitler had just became chancellor. One of the areas that Mike King visited was Wittenham Church. That is the church where Martin Luther, the Protestant Reform leader, hung his five books on the church door where he broke with Catholicism. He started the Protestant movement. Mike King was so enamored, he had an epiphany by coming in touch at that time in Germany where the Nazis were running around persecuting Jews. He was a black man there at the National Baptist Alliance. They were saying things to him, nigga go home, and all kind of stuff in Germany. He was so moved. He had an epiphany that somehow, in some way, reason, he was in Germany at this day and time. He went back home and he changed his name to Martin Luther King Sr. and he changed the name of his son to Martin Luther King Jr. So we go back and trace the history of what Dr. King became. How did he become such a great public intellectual? He got it honestly. He had no choice. They were not going to let him fail. Unfortunately, 10 years later, Miss Jenny passed away, Grandma Jenny as he called her. She doted on Martin. It really hit him hard. But his mother told him, Martin, buckle down and do what Mama wants you to do. So what did he do? He got skipped in the 9th grade, he got skipped in the 12th grade, he graduated high school at 15 and entered Morehouse at 15 years old. First transformation, Michael to Martin. The second transformation, he met the great architect of educational excellence, Benjamin E. Mays, became his godfather. When he went to Morehouse, he wanted to become a doctor. He wanted to save his grandparents and anybody else. He didn't want to be a minister. When he met what's known as a scholar preacher, Dr. Mays, and he said, your father and your grandfather and your great father, you have to be a preacher. And more people forget that Dr. Benjamin Mays also was a preacher. He was at Morehouse. He became the sixth president of Morehouse in 1940. He was 28 years old. He became Martin Luther King Jr.'s godfather. He sailed through school in 4 years with a sociology degree, not a minister's degree. He enrolled in Crozer Theological University in Upland, Pennsylvania. And during his 4 years at Upland, of Crozer, he lived in Camden, New Jersey. His house he lived in now, they're trying to preserve, at least put a mark or something to recognize him. During this time in Crozer, a family friend became his protector. His name was J.P. Barbour, same spelling as my last name. Joseph Pius Barbour. Who was Joseph Pius Barbour? He was born in Galveston, Texas, and one of those people who celebrated Juneteenth because those were the black folks and didn't know they was free for 2 years. Joseph Pius Barbour was a contemporary of A.D. They helped found the National Baptist Convention together. When he went to Crozer, at the urging of Dr. King and Benjamin Mays, they said, look after Martin. JP was the first black student to graduate from Crozer Theological Seminary. But more important than that, he had a church in Chester, Pennsylvania called Calvary Baptist Church. And what he would do would take the students who were in Crozer to come to the church to do trial runs to be preachers. And of course, Martin was one of them. They would call themselves the Sons of Calvary. And one of the other sons of Calvary was William Augustus Jones, known as Big Bill Jones, Bethany Baptist Church in Brooklyn, New York, became Dr. King one of his best friends and his cut buddies. When the National Baptist Convention split between the Progressive Baptist Convention and the National Baptist Convention, Bill Jones joined with Martin to found the Progressive Baptist Convention. Another man that was very influential during King's time at Crozer was named Samuel DeWitt Proctor. And some of you may know Samuel DeWitt Proctor because he succeeded Martin Luther King, he succeeded Adam Clayton Powell at Abyssinia Baptist Church just before Calvin Butts. He helped raise Calvin Butts, recently passed Calvin Butts, studied up to Dr. Proctor. Dr. Proctor was from here. He was from Kentucky, from Norfolk and Virginia, but he was here. If you go to Rutgers, you now find a whole lot of stuff supporting Dr. Proctor. He was one of the legendary, what they known as doctor preachers, men who not only were educated in divinity, but they got their degrees in some type of doctorate degrees. So the influences now, you got JP, you got DeWitt Clinton, you have Dr. King, you have the change that occurred because of what Martin, and he never wanted to really use Martin, he called himself ML. He'd still be, but he felt that was better than being called Little Mike, which a lot of people call him in his family, so he was ML. When he finally went to Crozer and finally got with Dr. Proctor had graduated from not only Crozer, but he had graduated from Boston University. He's the one that enticed Mike Martin to go and get his grad degree from Boston University. So you see all the forces that came in to make Martin Luther King what he became. Brilliant, but the formulation and the transformation of Martin Luther King was how all these people had input to him. So he goes to Boston, and he's doing quite well. He goes to Harvard, he goes to Yale, taking divinity courses, and now he's on his way. And he goes on a blind date, and he meets a woman they call Corey. And she first sees him, she's not impressed, because Dr. King's only 5'7", she doesn't know who's this little guy. And she said, once they sit down, he started talking, every time a word came out of his mouth, he got bigger. At first he thought that Corey was a New Englander because she was in Boston. She's from Alabama. She left Alabama, went to Antioch College in Ohio and experienced a really bad experience. She worked her way to New England because she wanted to go to school. We got a full ride at the New England Conservatory. She helped to formulate Martin too. You don't see that. Because part of the narrative says that in these civil rights movements, the men in the suits, where in fact 50% of those people in the civil rights movement was women, and 50% was young people. So the narrative is Dr. King came and gave his great speech, I have a dream. And he did have a dream. But he really talked about, in the speech, was about the insufficient funds on the promissory note that was given to African Americans. Where is the 40-acre in the Muse, what he was saying? Yeah, it's about the content of the character. We got some blue-eyed soul brothers we just saw up here. That boy danced like Greg Hines. He can tap. Them boys can play them instruments. The content of their character. It's not the color of their skin. They're jazz artists. They like jazz. They can play jazz. The content of their character. That's what he was saying. It wasn't about being colorblind. It was about recognizing every color has value. That's the essence of Dr. King. And he kept the faith. What his grandfather, that man that was a slave preacher, and his grandfather, slave preacher, and with his father who came to town and was told by his grandfather, you smell like a mule, and he made something of himself so that he could marry that wife married his wife, Dr. King's mother, and produced those children. And A.D. Jr., A.D. the second, also became a pastor. In the Birmingham campaign, A.D. was central to the Birmingham campaign with Fred Shuttlesworth, one of the legendary preachers of that. So I'm truncating my speech because it's kind of chilly. We want to bring both my hair. We don't want to be here all night because the weather, unfortunately, we've got a problem with the heat. But what I wanted to do was give you a flavor of who Dr. King was and how he became what he was. The first transformation of that name change, the epiphany that Michael had and came back and changed his name. If you understand the Protestant ethic, especially as a Southern Baptist boy, see, the Southern Baptist Protestant is different than the Northern Baptist Protestant, right? For him to change him and his son's name after a 1517 monk, but then he understood, he became a Pauline. He studied the Apostle Paul. He started changing what he would teach in the church. He went to the Apostle Paul. It was about the 1st and 2nd Corinthians, about the epistles of Paul. His whole direction changed. And then with the meeting of the minds with Dr. Mays, they knew that Martin had to become a scholar. And he did. He did. Again, next to Du Bois, I think he is the foremost public scholar we produced. And we've got some great ones. But he did so on the backs of a whole lot of other people. He stood on some strong shoulders. And in my opinion, it started, in terms of the public record at least, with Willis Williams, a slave preacher who taught his son, who became a slave preacher, and went on to Atlanta and became a force to be reckoned with. A.D. was something to be reckoned with. He was not only friends with Du Bois, he was also friends with Booker T. Washington. So he had the first high school for blacks was built in Atlanta, the Booker T. Washington High School, A.D. Williams. So he got it honestly. The public record makes it one seem it's all about a speech. No. As Biggie would say, now you know what you don't know. So claim your own narrative about your own people so that you can tell the young people that Dr. King was more than somebody that just had a dream.
Yes.
Coretta Scott King was more than just Dr. King's wife.
Yes.
Much more. She gets short shift. A.D. gets short shift. Mike King gets short shift. But the determination to succeed, the determination to make for the next generation, they had it in them and they instilled it in them. So he had it, he became a preacher. He went to Montgomery, the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. He followed behind a man which society still have not gave him fair due, named Vernon Johns. Go see the movie that was made by James Earl Jones with Dr. Vernon Johns.
Yeah.
Go look it up. Dr. Johns self-taught, self-trained, went to the University of Chicago, got his degree. But Dr. John liked to walk around in overalls. He liked to dig into the dirt. Dexter Avenue Baptist Church had some of the black elite. They thought they brought him there. They thought they had somebody who was going to be walking around all the time in a suit and be very, didn't drive a big car. He would drive a little wagon or something. He didn't care about that. Material didn't matter to him. But he wanted the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church to play the spirituals. They wouldn't do it. It only last 2 years. So they looked out and reached out for him, and they got the man who just got his PhD out of Boston University, the son of a preacher, Big Mike in Atlanta. Oh, Dr. King. Oh yeah, we got Dr. King. Throw Dr. John to the side. Abernathy set up a meeting with Dr. King. He says, what's the deal here? He said, these niggas don't want to do nothing. He said, I gave a sermon about why do they treat dogs been they treat Negroes in Alabama, they told me I couldn't give that speech. Martin said, why? He said, because they thought the white people would come in and get us. They wouldn't do it. So King said, okay. He went into Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. A year afterwards, Rosa Parks, 1955, sat down and she was a member of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. And we know the story of Sister Rosa. That started the Montgomery boycott. King became head of it, new guy in town. 380 days, the first time in the history of America, black folks exercised their economic power in the Deep South, and the Montgomery Improvement Association shut down the South Montgomery, the Montgomery bus company, the first economic activity that was successful in the Deep South. Where's that story? Where's that story? When King finally left, except the SCLC, the Birmingham campaign came about. Bloody war. Bull Connors, clock, beatings, hoses, everything. It's not a pretty situation. But they had to do it. Because Birmingham had to do it. Bloody campaign. But that's where the nonviolent social change came in. That's where the social gospel that he had been thinking about all along, because we had to show how evil some things are, how evil men can be. We can't fight them with bullets and stuff. We got to go out there and put our bodies on the line. And that's what he did. That's why he had Birmingham. He wrote the letter from the Birmingham jail, which chided the religious community for talking about saving souls, but would not stand up for black people who have been mistreated. Turn the whole thing around. That was his ability. That was Dr. King. So, Dr. King comes to Jersey City twice. He comes here in 1965 to get the honorary degree with St. Peter's College. They protested outside. Think about 100 demonstrators. Some say he was a criminal, some was this. The real issue was who he was. And Dr. King know how to just get people at ease. First thing he says when he goes in there, he says, well, you know, when a Catholic institution, this esteemed Catholic institution, gives a degree to a man named Martin Luther King, you know we head in the right direction. That was him, brilliant. And that just took all that animosity out the room. They just stood there and was standing ovation. So he came here to Metropolitan in 1968, March, several days before he was killed in April 4th, down in Memphis. Reverend Mapp was head of the Interdenominational Alliance, all the ministers in town. Dowell was there, they got him to Metropolitan. He was like 5 hours late. 5 hours late. Everybody was waiting at the time, no cell phones, so they would call from the airports. The plane didn't take off yet. Plane's in the air. He's arrived. Everybody's waiting. Nobody left. Nobody left that church. 2,000 people. Nobody left that church. All waiting. Dr. King finally arrived, boy. Everybody's happy, and you can see he's a little exhausted. Now, the Jersey Journal said he talked about how he told the crowd that we're getting ready to do this campaign also. If you get there, if you can't take a plane, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, everything. That's right. And then he did say that. But that's not the thing I remember the most what he said. Just like when he came in and broke the tension at St. Peter's, he broke the tension in that church. This is what he said. He said, I want to apologize to you all for being a little bit late. He said, but you know, I'd rather be Dr. King a little bit late than the late Dr. King. Yeah. Prophetic. And you know what? To this day, all the accolades, all the honorees, all the recognition that Dr. King has been given, richly deserved. Martin Luther King Drive, Martin Luther King Boulevard, the statue, richly deserved, properly earned. But they're going to be a hollow gesture, because I would rather that Dr. King walk to that door a little bit late than to meet late Dr. King. And so should you. Thank you.
Can we give another round of applause to Omar? History lesson there, and much needed and much appreciated. And we're going to very shortly here bring Winard back up to the bandstand, give us some good soul music. As Omar mentioned about Dr. King coming here to Jersey City in '68, right before he was assassinated. And I had the honor to be there that night when King came. And I was there standing next to the late Glenn D. Cunningham, who became mayor of Jersey City years after that. So it's something that I think anyone who was there would not forget that evening. And anyway, that's part of the history, and Jersey City factors into some of that history in reference to Reverend King and the movement, so forth. So anyway, I want to mention too that when we talked about the next event on Saturday, February 18th here at Miller Branch Library, that time is at 7 p.m. That's something that was left out. The time is 7 p.m. There's going to be a great band, I would say band, great band, great ensemble, with a tsunami of sound in appreciation for all the work and love that Dwight West put into the music. I don't know how many people got to hear him or know him, but if you did, you would know that you was in the company of a dynamic singer, fantastic vocalist, and that who knew how to entertain. And we're going to miss him greatly. And it's not a moment goes by that we don't think of him. And that. So anyway, that's coming up February 18th here at Miller Branch Library. I want to also apologize on behalf of the library for not having heat here, though we're not plumbers or or electricians or whatever. And we thought that maybe by this date that the problem would have been solved. And we came in today and found out it wasn't. So they're supposed to get on the case come Monday. But again, if we had canceled it, we would not have been experiencing what we experienced here tonight. So I want to thank you for being here. And with that, Winard. Where's Winard? Winard Harper.
You went home.
Yeah, Winard went home. Yeah.
You ready?
Yep, ready.
Once again, please give Dawood and Brother Omar, give them a big round of applause.
Everyone enjoying the music? Yeah. Lifting some souls and spirit. At this time, Winard always does this. Always great musician, full of love and energy, and spreading the gospel through jazz and through kindness. So with that, let us welcome back on stage Winard, Harper, and Jeli Posse.
Again, we'd like to thank all of you for coming out and supporting. We really appreciate it. And again, Brother Omar, give him a big, wonderful round of applause. I appreciate that, man. Anybody ever see or hear the letter that Dr. Martin Luther King sent to the Berlin Jazz Festival? If you haven't, you should look it up. You can Google it, it'll pop right up on your phone. You should read that letter, what he said about our music, jazz, you know. Because they asked him to come to do the introduction, but he couldn't make it, so he ended up sending in a letter. And it's really worth you knowing about and reading. And from your conversation, man, that made me want to play this piece I'm going to play, because it seems like everything that we go through, everything that we do, to have the success, you have to have submission to God. And we'd like to do an original composition for you. This is entitled Sajda. Somebody did that. What's been Hope you enjoyed that. That was entitled Sajda. Sajda. Thank you so very, very, very much. I know, what time is it? I know it's getting late, and I know I tend to, I'll go over time, and I know how guys got to get out of here. So we're gonna move, it's a whole lot of music we'd like to play for you, and you really have to come out and see this band in its entirety sometime when we're in concert and some of the things that we do. I want to tell you, it's always a pleasure and honor to come here to play at the library. It's something that I've always looked forward to doing at least once a year, because it's the community. It's our community, and there's nothing like being able to play at home. You know what I mean? So even back in the days with me and my brother, the Harper brothers, and my sister, when we get chances to perform here at the library, it's always been special to us. And the cover charge is right. You can't beat that cover charge. How much y'all pay to get in? I mean, you would figure like that, it should be a line outside of people trying to get in. You know, especially with all the information that was given and the spirit that's in here. And that's on us too. We have to be infectious. We have to urge and get our friends, our enemies, relatives. We have to urge everybody to come here and partake in this. Because if we can do that, we'll make the world better. Because that's what this music does. This music makes people better human beings. And it's nothing that says democracy that I know of like this music. Everybody gets a say-so, and everybody helps them have their say-so. So I'm going to move further along. I'm going to have to delete some of the things I wanted to play for you. But we had the opportunity, somebody commissioned us. And if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember the name of the church, but it's that church, the Jewish church right on Kennedy Boulevard. Okay, senior moment. Senior, Beth Israel. So during COVID, we couldn't go, and they told me, they said, you have to come see inside sometime because it's so beautiful, but we couldn't, so we had to do a live stream. So they commissioned us to do a live stream for their celebration for Dr. Martin Luther King. So I was doing a bunch of research and study, and we ended up doing the live stream from Morris Lounge, right on 189 Monticello. It was wonderful. We had Jason Samuel Smith, the tap dancer, and the guys on the band. I don't know if it's up on internet, but you might be able to go see it. But doing my study of Dr. Martin Luther King, I found out some wonderful stuff. When he first met Duke Ellington, that's an incredible story. Because as great as these two men were, up to that point, they hadn't even met, their paths hadn't crossed, but they happened to both be in Chicago, and a mutual friend connected them, and they couldn't even meet inside, they had to meet outside. And they said it was like it looked almost like two lovers that had never seen each other in a long time, because they started running towards each other. That's how much respect they had for each other, and how much respect Dr. Martin Luther King had for the music. Well, the young man I mentioned to you earlier, Dr. Billy Taylor, who I used to work with, he used to travel around and work with Dr. Martin Luther King. And Billy Taylor's daughter told me this story. She said, I think it was Mississippi. They ended up having to stay out in one of those fields. They had all these marches. During the march, they had to stop, and it was one of those fields, and I guess that's where everybody ended up staying. But they had all these death threats and things going on, so they were really scared, as one could imagine. And it just so happened, pitch black night, she said, a thunderstorm broke out. But when your life has been threatened and you start hearing thunder, you start wondering, hey, what's happening? And she said that people started getting a little, nervous. And Dr. Martin Luther King asked her father, Billy, go play that gospel piece for me. That'll ease the people. And that's what he did. He played one of his compositions. That composition, I think, was I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. But there's another composition that we like to do for you now. And the storyline behind this one goes that up at Jackie Robinson's estate, they had a meeting. They were trying to raise money for the March on Washington, and then inform the people, galvanize. And it was like a Q&A. and they gave people a chance to ask Dr. Martin Luther King a question, whatever it was. And they said this one lady who was, I'm assuming she was a little older and maybe, you know, wasn't able to march for whatever the reason. She asked him, well, those of us that can't make the march, what do we do? And Dr. King, in that wisdom way of his, Dr. Billy Taylor said he answered the question, well, if you really are concerned, then show it. And then he went on to say everything else he had to say. And that's the title of this composition that Dr. Billy Taylor went home and wrote. It's entitled, If You Really Are Concerned, Then Show It. And we're going to feature my lovely daughter, Miss Camila Harper. And the rest of the guys in the band, I hope you enjoy it. If you really are concerned, then show it.
If you really are concerned, then show it. If you really want to help, you can. If you lend a helping hand to struggling people right around you, you can make a different world. If you really are concerned, then speak up. You can demonstrate your point of view, but you've got to get involved with pressing problems closest to you. If you want to change the world, see, it's easy to sit on the sidelines to ask, what can one person do? But each person has something special to give, and no one can give that for you. If you really are concerned, then show it. If you really want to help, yes, you can. But you've got to start right now by making changes while you're able. Oh, you will disappear. people right around you, you can make a different world. If you really are concerned, then speak up. You can demonstrate your point of view, but you've got to get involved with pressing problems closest to you if you want to change the world. It's easy to sit on the sidelines, ask what can one person do. Each person has something special to give, and no one will give that for you. If you really are concerned, then show it. If you really wanna help, you can. But you gotta start right now by making changes while you're able. Your worldly things. And show it. If you really wanna help, yes you can. If you lend that helping hand to struggling people right around you, you can make a different world. If you really are concerned, yes speak up. You can demonstrate your point of view. But you've got to get involved with pressing problems closest to you if you want to change this world. It's easy to sit on the sideline, ask what can one person do. Each person has something special to give. No one will give that for you. If you really are concerned, then show it. If you really wanna help, you can. But you've got to start right now by making changes while you're able on your brother with his peace. Thank you.
It's, we're gonna close out our set. We're gonna get you to help us out with this next one. And we hope you enjoy it. But when you check out that letter that Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, he makes mention to one of the father of our art form, I would say. And he mentions the blues. You can't get away from the blues. Can't lose if you play the blues. So I hope you enjoy this.
We're gonna get you to help us out.
It's one more night without sleeping. Yeah, I'm watching till that morning comes creeping. I said, Gringo, what's that secret you're keeping? Well, now there's an old piano that they swing real high behind the green door. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I had to tell them I've been there. Yeah, you know the door's like a hospitality stand there. Yeah, you know I wonder what the world is going on in there. Well, I saw my eyeball peeping through a smoky cloud behind that green door. green, green dog. Green, green, green dog. Green, green, green dog. Green, green, green dog. Green, 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 green dog. 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 Green, green, green dog.
How about it, Miss Camila Harper? Miss Camila Harper. Green Dog, can't lose with the blues. You know, and dance has always been a big, big, big part of our community, and I love seeing y'all do it. And we'd like to leave you with this little short last composition. There's another gentleman I had the pleasure of working with for many years, and I think I also played here at the library with him, and I'm speaking of the late, great David Fathead Newman. And back during that time of apartheid as well, of course, you know, we had empathy and felt the suffering they were going through because we were still going through it ourselves. And there was a, let's say like a battle cry that they had. It was like ours, like the Black Power battle cry. But there was one that I think Nelson Mandela and them had started, and it was Amandla, Amandla.
Away too.
Yeah, and David Fathead Newman wrote this composition, and we recorded it with him back in the day, and we'd like to do it for you now. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so very, very, very much. Please, once again, a round of applause for Dawood, Harper, Cultural Awareness Series. We love y'all. Please, please, please keep it going. Sister Mary Akins. Give her a round of applause. Brother Omar. Mr. A.C. Lincoln. And AC, I think he's been here to the library with me before, but he comes from a very, very musical family. His father is the great singer Marion Cowens, and that's Alex Cowens. And the djembe, Mr. Gabriel Roxbury. The lovely Miss Camilla Harper. How do you say his last name? Schiffer. Okay, that's what I thought. Tenor saxophone, alto saxophone, Mr. Jalen Schiffer. Trumpet, Mr. Teddy Chubb. And the keyboard, Mr. Nick Masters. On the country bass fiddle, Mr. Anthony Perez. We've enjoyed playing this wonderful music for you and trying to share some of the stories in the back lines, but this music, this is our ancestral legacy. This is our diamond mine, our gold mine, and we have to help promote it, preserve it, and push it forward. So as much as y'all can come out and keep supporting us, and bring your kids, your grandkids. You gotta grab some off the corner, bring them too. We need it, and they need it. You know, if we want to help make this world a better place, let's give them something nutritious, you know, spiritually nutritious. And that is this wonderful, wonderful music, this powerful art form, jazz. Again, I love y'all so much. At the drums, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Yes, indeed. Because I can't say enough about him. He's dedicated, hardworking. He's talented. Very, very humble. He's an introvert, very shy. But he's intelligent, but wise. Sophisticated, but down to earth. Strong, but sensitive. Short, but lean and muscular. Ladies and gentlemen, your friend and mine, the very, very humble servant of God, me, Winard Harper.
Harper. Posse. Thank you for coming out and have a safe journey home. Hope to see you soon. Mary.